Pastor Robert Jeffress went on Fox News to speak about racial tensions in the wake of last week's multiple police killings. And he said this: the New Testament says in Romans 13:4 that law enforcement officers are ministers of God, sent by God to punish evildoers. When you think about it, police officers are just as called by God to do what they do as pastors and priests are called by God. And I think we need to remind our members of that. Well, that's adorable. So now there is a divine calling for officers, which means what? Well, if they're just as called by God and they're representatives of God, well then who is who are regular citizens to question the Almighty authority figures? Well, if they choose to shoot us when they shouldn't, well, we need to shut the fuck up, don't we? Because they're ordained by God and we're not. So you got to learn your role. You're below the God-ordained officers. He goes on to say this. And I have to say, if we would teach our children to respect law enforcement officers, they wouldn't have anything to worry about. The Bible says law enforcement officers are nothing to be feared if you do what is right. Well, if the Bible says it, obviously it must be true. What is it the Bible says about a flat earth again? Okay, let's not get into that. But it's so funny that he says this when the most recent high-profile killing where a police officer killed a black man is Philando Castile. In the Philando Castile incident, based on the evidence we have to this point, he was 100% complying with the officers, and he's still dead. So he told the officer pulled him over for a busted taillight. And he's talking to the officer. He says, "Officer, I just want to let you know, I have a licensed gun on me." So the officer says, "Okay, well, let me see your ID." He reaches for the ID. I guess at some point in reaching for the ID, maybe the officer caught a glimpse of the gun, and he thought he was going for the gun. Boom, shot him dead. So he complied. "Hey, officer, I'm licensed to carry this gun. I have it on me." Okay. Okay, well, let me see your ID anyway. Goes for the ID, dead. Complied, dead. Now, it's not every case, but in some cases that happens. So when you go out there and give vacuous talking points like, "Law enforcement officers are from God. Don't question them. They're from God the Almighty, so you're in no place to question them. And if you just listen to them, everything will be okay." Tell that to Philando Castile. He listened to them and everything wasn't okay. So take your shitty arguments about how everybody who you like is ordained by God and they're special and they're above you and everybody else is under you. Take them for a fucking hike. It's 2016. Your God is mythological. Your God is bullshit. And we need real systemic reform for police de-escalation tactics. And we need to change the laws to make it so that these instances stop happening. It's not enough to say, the officers are from God, the people aren't, therefore whatever the officers do is okay. That's a shitty, pathetic argument.